And we're live, ladies, gents, boys, girls, children of all ages. Welcome to Kayfabe Corner. I'm your host, JPO Jordan Pierce Owens, as I'm joined by someone line up the scene, one of the big up and comers here, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Jarett Diaz. How are you today, man?
Here, what's up, Jordan? I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm ready to chat. I've been looking forward to it for a while.
Absolutely. Like I said before off air, it's like I've had you on my notes for a while. Been meaning to get you. Happy you commented. Literally, the first question is, how are you, man? How's life treating you?
Yeah, life
What's been
is
going
life
on?
is solid. I've been busy. I've been busy. I just finished up a 6 month temp period with WWE. That was, you know, very busy, very busy with editing and production and stuff. And throughout that, I worked the indies, and now I'm back to trying to be as full time with wrestling as possible. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't like free time. So
So busy, but that's a good busy.
exactly.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's start off with the origins of Jarett Diaz. So where does wrestling come into your life? Not necessarily in it, but like just in general. Like were you a fan growing up? What are your first interactions with pro wrestling?
So I think the first time that I really, not that I dove into wrestling, but it kind of made an appearance in my life, right? I had a GameCube when I was a kid. I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and I had WrestleMania 18, the game. I think it was Jericho and Angle on the cover, or maybe The Rock on the. I'm not really sure, but I played that GameCube game, not really knowing who anybody was. Fast forward a couple years later, SmackDown versus Raw 2007, and I'm sitting in the after school program as both parents, divorced, working, busy household. So they put us in the after school program, me and my sister, and one of these kids has a PSP, PlayStation Portable, and I see just the animation of, and I tell the story basically the same way every time, but I see this animation of Shawn Michaels hitting Sweet Chin Music, right? Tuning up the band, the slow mo, bang, and kicks him right in the face. I don't remember who it was, but it's neither here nor there. And it's Shawn Michaels doing probably the coolest thing in all of wrestling. And right there, that was a little light bulb that says, "Oh, I'm hooked on this now. What is this? Tell me more." And so I asked the kid, I'm like, "What is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's the new WWE game. Monday Night Raw is on tonight. You should watch it. It's on at 9 o'clock. At that time, it was on at 9. Well, I stay up after bedtime, which was 9. I was like 11. And a couple minutes into the match, I'm just a few minutes late, and it's Jeff Hardy and Umaga. Literally, the first thing that I see is a suicide dive, Jeff Hardy diving onto Umaga. And right there, almost immediately, it's, oh, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. So I I've been a fan ever since. And when kids started aging out, when they find out what wrestling is, I just dive in further, and I figure out like, oh, now this is a real attainable thing for like a regular kid like me to go chase. And that's my story. That's the beginning, at least.
So you already mentioned some great guys there. Shawn Michaels, that's my number one guy. Uh,
Without a doubt,
was it
the
was it
best of
who
all
was
time.
it? Oh, there you go. No argument here. Who would you say was anyone else? Him, maybe Jeff. Like, who were you really high on? Who's your number? Who was
Oh,
your
I like
guy
Jeff Hardy
growing
as
up?
as a lot of kids do, right? The charisma, the energy there. But I was a John Cena kid. I think that John Cena, the way that he just felt like a larger than life superhero type as a little kid watching, and he carried it for damn near 15 years. And so for me, watching Cena as I'm growing up and sort of not getting cynical and just being okay with him being the full-time babyface good guy and just being all right with it. That's like that was my guy. That was my guy growing up.
As always, here's my John Cena impression. Thank you. I'm here all night.
I
Uh,
gotta be honest with you, I didn't see that coming. I got props for that one.
thank you. I'm live at the Chuckle Hut on Saturdays. Uh, okay, so how early in your life? What age are you? Where do you start actually physically getting involved into pro wrestling?
So I get to go to a show when I'm like 12, and it's in Jersey. Before the Nets moved to Brooklyn, they had their basketball stadium, and Monday Night Raw is there. It's the episode where Jericho throws Shawn Michaels into the Jeritron and cuts his eye. It
Sure.
was the big Jericho turn. That was huge for me. But then I didn't actually get to get involved until I was coming out of high school, and it was early 2014. Kurt Hawkins had just been released from WWE. he and Pat Buck open up Create a Pro in Long Island, which is where I initially trained. Now, at this time, I was still in high school, but I was getting ready to graduate, and I knew I was going to play college football. But until I was getting ready to go play ball, or until I left to go play ball, I thought to myself, I'm going to take this summer, I'm going to work out, and I'm going to try this wrestling thing. I'm going to go to Create a Pro, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to go to classes as often as I can. And I went basically every day that they offered class for 3 months. And that's where the fundamentals are learned. The rolls, the bumps, hitting the ropes, a couple of simple moves, and a little bit of chaining, just to, I guess, lay the groundwork for guys. And the first month was like, well, the first day, just figuring out if you'll be able to survive it, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever bumped at all, but
How
anytime
dare you, sir? I train.
I don't know. I don't know. No, so for those of you that haven't, right? If you can survive the first day of wrestling training passionately, like if you're excited to go back the next day, you're gonna be fine because it is the hardest day. It is the hardest part of wrestling is the very first day, for me at least. And the athleticism was there, the conditioning was there for me as an athlete, especially at that time. I was 18 years old. I was going to play football in college, but just the uncomfortable hitting the ropes and rolling and bumping, it was tough. But I loved it, and I loved learning and learning from somebody like Kurt Hawkins, Brian Myers is incredible, and Pat Bucks, who just finished up a long producer role with WWE, was great. So that was my first time training, and then I left out to play ball. I went to play football in college in Anderson, Indiana, for a little while. I got back to training a bit with Kurt Hawkins again and Buck again in Long Island, but then it wasn't until I moved to Florida to Full Sail to get my degree in sports broadcasting and try and work with WWE was when I wrestled. That's when I finally said, all right, I'm going for this wrestling thing full time. I'm going to go to wrestling school again. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn, and eventually I'm going to have a match. And that's what I did when I moved to Florida. Was when I started attacking this thing.
Who were you training with in Florida?
I was all over the place. So my cousin, or a cousin of a cousin, Jason Cade, who's wrestled with Impact, with MLW. He's been on PWG. He's been on Joe Janelle Spring Break. Like he's done a lot, and he's was at least one of the best talents on the indies without a doubt. And when he stopped wrestling, it was fairly recently, but he was essential in my early wrestling training because he knew everybody. So he would connect me with schools all over Florida. So I wouldn't even say I had like one specific home school in Florida because I was just going wherever Cade took me.
Interesting. So I've only known you as Jarett Diaz. Is that your real name?
That's my name.
Okay.
I wanted to attach my real name and my real personality to what I bring to the ring.
Was there ever any other things kind of floating in your head, or did anyone try to give you anything else, or has it been Jarett since day one and no other ideas?
There's never been any different names. I've always wanted to be me, but there have been different, I guess, versions of my personality that I've thought about bringing to the ring. Like my primary shtick per se is the bodega boy, right? I'm the kid from the Bronx with the Yankee fitted and whether it be a jersey or a crop top or whatever with the Arizona iced tea, like that's one part of my persona. But there's also the like sort of stereotypical jock that I've wanted to tap into, or the pretty boy, I don't care about anything because look how handsome I am part of me that I've thought about bringing to the ring. Like there are different little pieces, but it's always been Jarett Diaz. I've always wanted to try and bring my name to the forefront.
Do you even like Arizona iced tea?
I love Arizona iced tea.
Okay.
It is not a gimmick. It is a lifestyle. I'm drinking water
Oh,
because it's
oh,
midnight, but
okay.
I probably drink 4 or 5 Arizonas a week and then probably 2 on show days.
See, I thought it would have been funny if you hated it secretly.
Imagine no. Well, you know what? I can honestly say that I do sometimes get tired of the regular flavor, so I do have to mix it up. I do have to mix it up there through the the Arnold Palmers, the mangoes, the whatever.
Do you remember that first official match?
I do. I had Well, I was lucky enough to have it with Jason Cade, who is more than a competent first opponent. Like a lot of people that I know, they look back at their first match and like, oh my god, that was terrible. I hated it. I watch it back and it was awful. I watched mine back and it was fine. Like I was lucky. Cade, he took me into deep waters and he told me he would. He was like, hey, listen, we're going, 12, maybe 15 tonight, and you better keep up. I'm not gonna lose you. We're gonna figure this out, but it's gonna be a doozy. And it was, I
Not
didn't even
this,
have
is it?
there you go. So I didn't even have a move set yet. I just had like 4 or 5 things that I knew I could do well. And basically, he built the structure of the match and just said, "All right, here's a little gap for you to do something. Here's a little gap for you to do something." And if I had something for there, I would fill it. And if I didn't, he would fill it for me. And he talked me through it. And just to peel back the curtain, like he talked me through the whole thing. And I was forgetting stuff, but he's a professional, so he was carrying. He was carrying. But I look back and I enjoy it. I enjoyed my first match. Now the next 3 months after, that was tough. But that first night was good.
How was it tough? Just because now you had maybe lesser opponents, or just the learning
Oh
curve,
yeah,
or
it was the I got spoiled. I got spoiled on my first night with a very talented and capable and athletic opponent. And then everybody after that, not to say they were bad, but it was mostly newer people with not 7 years of experience, including wrestling on TV. And he had that. So it was definitely a wake up to say, hey, not every match is gonna be good, but one day it'll be your job to make sure it is. So that's what I learned.
what do you say to this, Jared? We have a comment here. Alize says the New York Mets are better. No offense.
You know what's funny? I hate to
Oh,
out
no
myself
offense.
on this because I'm from the Bronx, but I'm a Mets fan. I'm
Ah,
actually a Mets fan, and it feels I'm not gonna say it feels wrong to wear a Yankee fitted all the time because I did grow up in the Bronx. Everybody that I know has a Yankee fitted. Like I had a Yankee fitted growing up. I just didn't wear it because I was a Mets fan. But now it just feels so in line with like what I do as often as I do it that I don't feel any type of way if I'm rooting for the Yankees or if I'm wearing a Yankee fitted or whatever. But I'm actually a Yankee fan. But don't tell nobody.
oh, it's been outed. You've been outed. Uh,
I outed myself.
since that Cade match, man, what are some matches you've been really happy with? What's some of your favorite matches you've had?
Oh, I would definitely have to lean more in the recent years, like since I've felt a lot more comfortable in the ring and building my own matches and structuring the way that I've learned what best works for me. First one that comes to mind is my match with Myron Reed from last summer at XWA in Rhode Island. That was another guy who I had to keep up with him. That's a guy who has wrestled on television plenty. He's been a champion almost everywhere he's gone. Like I love the high pressure. This guy's better than you. Keep up and make sure you're doing your best type scenarios. Like there you go. I'm wrestling with Myron Reed and he's throwing me around and he's making me look bad. Why? Because he's a pro. But so that comes to mind. I had a match with Steve Pena a couple weeks prior to this, who I don't know if you know of Steve, but he's wrestled with WWN a little bit in Florida and Evolve in Brooklyn and Massachusetts as well. He's a friend. He's from the Bronx and he is very talented. I'm waiting for the day that he gets signed. And just to rattle off another few names, almost rapid pace. Blake Wright out in Indiana. I wrestled Remy at Real Pro. That was a good time down in Florida. All the WWN stuff that I've done with the Rapture is very close to home for me. Yeah, that's just a few back to back to back. If you guys want to check them out,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I'm definitely gonna watch that Myron Reed one later.
it's good stuff, man. It was another occasion where I had to really step my game up.
Speaking of the Rapture, I saw that they disbanded recently. Any word on that?
We did as a group. I don't really want to get into it, if I'm being honest.
No, no, no,
That's
no,
not
no,
something I
no
really want to
push.
touch on right now. I don't think it's fully registered even between the three of us. So I don't think we're really ready to fully talk on it, is what I'll say.
Okay, I didn't know what kind of a split it was. I wish everyone best of luck. All of you are super talented, so best of
They're
luck to all of you.
they're great guys. I want nothing for the best for all of them.
What any injuries, man? How you been health wise?
I've been pretty lucky health wise. I can say this: I played football for most of my life and got hurt way more doing that. Separated shoulders, sprained and messed up ankles, concussions. In wrestling, I'm lucky enough to say that I've had nearly none of that. I've had some minor ankle stuff, which I can just wrestle and wear a brace. I keep fracturing my elbow, but that's really my fault because anytime I forget to wear a pad or like a sleeve is when it happens. So as long as I wear the pad or the padded sleeve, I'm fine. I will say that it's the soreness and like the aches and pains that are frequent, but injuries I've been blessed to not really have to deal with anything major, which I know I'm one of few. So
You mentioned the sleeve. Is that why you wear it, or that just
that is
happened to
why I
work
wear
out?
it. Yeah, I
Okay,
initially it was for the look, and then I realized
it
how
does
much
look
it's
good.
actually protecting. I
Weirdly
realized how much
enough.
it's actually protecting my arm. So you know what it is? It's anytime I land on the front side of me, my elbows always catch in a weird way that it just hairline fracture, and it swells like a softball. So as long as I keep the sleeve off, I don't have a softball on my arm.
And yeah, good way to go about it.
Yeah.
You did make Alize very happy though about the Mets comments. So you made another bigger
Shout out
fan
Alizé,
there.
the Mets fans. We just lost though. I was just watching the game against the Giants, 5-2, I think.
Oh, oh, was that tonight?
That was yeah, it just ended like 35, 40 minutes ago. That's
And then
alright. It's okay. It's a long season. We just started. Everything's fine.
there you go. She's asking what are some of the takeaways do you have from every match you wrestle in?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. So something that I took from football was film study and film review. I watch back every single thing that I do, every single match, every single promo, because even if I get to the back and I think, wow, that was great. I feel really great about what I did out there. The crowd was reacting. Everything felt smooth. Everything felt good. I can go back and, even if it's maybe the best match of my life, I'm sure there's still going to be a handful of things that I wish I could have done better or that maybe would have registered differently if I had done them differently. Um, so I would say on a larger scale, the thing that I learned from every match is that you're never done. There's always room for improvement. There's always more room to grow. And as long as I keep that mindset, I'll keep growing.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Alze agrees. We're just gonna not talk about the loss. We're gonna move on from that. Uh, what's some of your favorite promotions? What locker rooms do you really enjoy going in? Even if they're defunct, just who's really
Sure.
welcomed you and who have you enjoyed being a part of?
First thing that comes to mind is when I moved back to New York after the pandemic because of I was living in Florida and I moved back. The first promotion that I really got to be a part of that welcomed me in was XWA in Rhode Island, which just a few months ago stopped running.
Hmm.
The promoter he moved away, and it was a whole thing. But yeah, they were the first promotion that after the pandemic and I moved back to New York really made me feel like I was home. Like they got behind me right away and started giving me opportunities to really show what I can do, and the crowd was very receptive as well. I wrestled their champion, and I think it's that very match. Kylon King was their champion at the time. And my very first night, hey, you have 15. It's the main event. Go do your thing. Go do what you want to do. So I felt like that was a place that really welcomed me in. Another place was the ACW locker room. You've seen me wrestle at ACW at WWN. That was a place where I really got my reps in and learned who I was and worked out the bodega boy gimmick and worked out a lot of the early things that I was trying to try in the ring and figure out what style fits me best. It's also where I got to link up with the Rapture, and it's where I got to wrestle guys like Zach Cooper and Kenway right there. Yeah, there's so much talent in that WWE locker room that now to see that it's changed so much and the company's changed so much, and I haven't been since really since the former owner of that venue passed away. Sadly, the company's just changed so much, and there's been so much in flux that I haven't really seen what it's turned into just yet.
No, for sure. Yeah, I haven't been back either. Shout out to Heath. Um, What's so you talked before about New York. What kind of differences do you find in New York and Florida wrestling, whether it's the crowd or the locker rooms? What kind of differences have you seen?
I think that the locker rooms in Florida, sorry, the locker rooms in Florida are a lot of the same people. That's what I've noticed most is that whether you're in Ocala or Port Richey or Orlando or uh, Fort Myers or Fort Lauderdale or Jacksonville or Daytona, like wherever you are, you're gonna see a lot of the same faces. And I think that's both a good thing and a bad thing, right? I think it's a good thing because it shows that there's so much talent in Florida that is willing to travel and put themselves out there as often as possible. That's huge. At the same time, it can be a negative because you're not wrestling a lot of new people or you're not seeing that diversity of talent on cards. A lot of the cards as a whole start to look the same. And if I'm wrestling on Ignite one day and then I'm wrestling on Punk Pro or whatever the next day, those shows shouldn't look the same. Uh, but that's something that happens in Florida a lot. Whereas in New York, because of the mass amount of shows in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, a lot of them run on similar dates, so you can't see a lot of the same faces. You may see a lot of the same top guys, but in terms of the guys that are on the way up, you don't see a lot of the same faces because there are just so many shows. It's a lot of depth, and it's a lot of depth of talent too. It's not just about numbers; it's about quality numbers. I would say that's the biggest difference. When it comes to the crowds, uh, I can I can say I'm more of a good guy here because I'm from here. And whether I was wrestling in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, they don't want to like me, even if I want them to. Where in New York, like, sure, I can work on it and make them hate me. But when I walk out, they're gonna be happy to see me. I'm wearing a Yankee fitted. I'm coming out to hip hop. I got this big smile on my face. Like they want to like me because I remind them of them more than I would in, say, Florida.
What's one of the longest drives you've had to make?
Oh, man. Well, that depends. The longest drive I've ever done, it wasn't even initially related to wrestling. It only got to wrestling at the end. I had to get my car inspected in New York, but I was still living in Florida, and I had a 2-day notice to go do it. So I was in Miami at the Jets Dolphins game on a Sunday, drove straight after that game to New York on a Monday, like through the day, slept, got my car inspected that next morning, and drove right back from car inspection all the way down to Port Richey and then wrestled. I wrestled Sage Scott and then wrestled as the Rapture against the Midnight Tribe on that very same show. So 2 matches after 40 hours of driving. That was the worst day of my life. But for one show, for one match, it was 8 hours. 10 hours. I drove from Massachusetts, from Springfield, Mass, after wrestling to PWX down in Charlotte to wrestle Snoop Strikes, who I love. I love wrestling Snoop. I'll work with Snoop in my sleep because that guy, he and I just work. Uh, but it was after a 10-hour drive, so it was tough, but we got it done.
I was gonna pull up a clip of that match because I'm sure just from
Pull
the
it
two
up. That
words
was a
you
that was a
mentioned,
fun one. I
uh,
think
you,
that was a very fun one.
I mean, you said Jarett Diaz and Snoop Strikes. I know it's going to be a good one.
That's my guy. Snoop is my guy. And you know what? I've wrestled Myron and I've wrestled Snoop, and I'm really trying to wrestle Jordan Oliver so I can complete the injustice circle, the
For the
injustice
Injustice
trilogy
Triangle.
that I'm working on. I'm working on it. I've been
That would be a
lobbying
good
to
one.
fight him, but he's so busy on GCW doing his thing. Shout out to him. I saw him. I was on a show with him in Las Vegas during SummerSlam weekend last year, and I told him this. He was like, "Yo, let's make it happen." But he's a busy guy. He's a busy guy.
Absolutely, but hey, you're gonna get to that point where that's he won't have, you won't have time for him, he won't have time for you, or
That's,
it'll end up
that's
on GCW somewhere.
that's the plan, man. All I got to do is improve, keep climbing.
I'll say I think I had another good one here. From your very first match to now, what one piece of advice would you have told your former self from your first match to your future self?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't think I've been asked that in that way.
A little bit of a
Um,
Terminator, go back in time.
yeah, if I had to tell myself something, it's something I sort of lean on even now. It's slow down. Like, I don't mean footwork or like in the ring because I mean that too, but that's not even what I'm talking about. I mean slow down in the sense of like don't rush to the ring. Look at the people in the crowd, soak in what you're doing because you are so fortunate just to be able to do it. Uh, I hear all these stories of like Stone Cold walking down to the ring during WrestleMania, and they're almost like blocked out because he's focused on what he does and what he has to do. And he looks back on that regrettably because he sold out the whatever arena it is in Canada for Mania, and 70,000 people, 80,000 people are there to see him, right? I'm no Stone Cold. I'm not selling out 70, 80,000. But if I have two, 300 people in the crowd and they're reacting to me, slow down and just take it in because I want to remember those things.
Very nice. You mentioned before the temp work with WWE. Can you touch more upon that? Well, how'd you
Yeah,
get that
sure.
going? What exactly was it?
So my journey with WWE was that it was as early as when I went to Full Sail. I went to Full Sail only because I knew about it through NXT, which is where they were hosting it for years. And I went there on the leap of faith that if I went to school there and I just talked to enough people, I could work my way into the performance center. And after getting connected with my program director, who used to work on the Edge and Christian show for the network, who was the sports broadcasting director when I got to the school, he basically learned that I was only there to try and get with WWE. He at that time was working on an internship with the Performance Center. And when it came to fruition, I was the first interview and I was the first hire because the passion was there, the product knowledge was there. And it was very clear that that's what I came there to do. I get to the Performance Center and I'm in the PC about maybe twice a week for about 6 months. And I'm learning the interviewing, the ring announcing, the commentating, the panel hosting, all of the non wrestling talent roles that WWE has to offer. And it was the most amazing experience. And through that, I got connected with Tom Phillips, who's now with Impact. I got connected with Byron Saxton and Caleb Braxton and Alicia Taylor and all of those talent people who either are with the company for a long time or in Phillips' cases was with the company for a very long time. I was all but set to start there as a college hire. COVID hits. Done. I moved back to New York. They start laying off hundreds of people, and I'm waiting. I'm just sitting there as a college graduate with no job, waiting, waiting, waiting. In my other life, so in my life outside of wrestling, my dad and I run a gym, and we personally train athletes for all sports, but our primary sport is football. I do a lot of quarterback training specifically, as that was what I used to play. And one of the quarterbacks I was training, his dad had just gotten hired from Bellator to WWE, and he was the showrunner for Untold with the documentary series. He mentored me. He taught me a lot when it came to editing and production, more so than I had learned at in college, because this is a guy who's been doing it for 10, 15 years. Obviously, I learned a lot in college, but he brought me into a professional level with it. And he spoke to enough people to get me an interview. I did an interview. They don't hire me on it. They end up washing away that position, and they instead interview me for a production job with NXT UK, which I get hired for. So for 6 months, it was a temp position. I got hired as 3, and then they extended it to 6. And during that time, I was logging footage, I was labeling slow mo, and that was fine. But after about a month or so, I got to start making highlight videos and make packages, full length packages that would be featured on NXT TV every single week. And it was featured on Peacock and on BT Sport in England. And I learned a ton. And now that I have that experience, of course, it's a resume builder, but it also put me in a position where I can edit my own stuff better than I ever could before. So these are some things that I'm working on now. And these are things that I'm thinking about. How do I take all those skills that I learned and bring it back to what I do and market myself as a wrestler?
Oh man, well, what a story, man! I really do commend you, man, on taking that leap,
Thank
getting in there, man. I mean, that's a dream, but you made it happen due to hard work and believing in that. That's really cool, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah,
Um,
I've always thought myself as a person that says, "This is a thing I want. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm just gonna figure it out. I'll try anything."
what would you say is the ultimate goal then? Is it wrestling? Is it production? Or are you open to like wherever whoever takes you for the farthest? Like it seems like you might be open,
It's
or where do you
exactly
want to
that.
go?
I want wrestling to pay my bills.
Okay, so you're open to.
When I was 10, 11 years old, I fell in love with it. And it wasn't just for the in-ring action, but it's the
Mm,
storytelling. And whether you're a wrestler, a broadcaster, or an editor, you're a storyteller. So I'm lucky enough, fortunate enough, and skilled enough to some degree to be able to do all three at different stages of my life and different levels, that whichever of them hit for me to let wrestling pay my bills, that's what I'm going to do.
fantastic, fantastic. I like it. I like it. Um, well, going to the wrestling side of it
Trying to
now.
cover all my bases.
No, you are, and hey, you're doing a hell of a job. It seems from multiple aspects. Going to the wrestling basis now. We'll start locally, as in Florida and in New York or wherever. Who are some of the dream matches you haven't had yet? Like, who have you got? Oh, I would
Oh,
kill it with so and so. Who's on that list?
right off the bat, I think of the improvement of Robert Martyr. Martyr's a homie, and I remember when I just started doing shows regularly, Martyr still wasn't doing that yet. He had wrestled and trained for a while, but he wasn't running a full schedule. And I was in one fatal four-way with him, maybe 6 months or 8 months into me wrestling. Have you seen what he's been doing lately? He has been wrestling everywhere, and he has been killing it. And I have been looking forward to wrestle with him. And I don't know when it'll be, but I'm absolutely sure that we'll cross paths again sometime soon. Uh, I've mentioned the Jordan Oliver match. I want to complete that Injustice Triangle. Um, I don't, I don't know if I really have dream matches per se when it comes to like big major indie guys that I've looked up to for so long. It's not so much about that. I just want to wrestle people that are better than me because that's the only way to make leaps in improvement, I think, in my opinion. So guys on the indies, like Kevin Blackwood, who I was in a scramble with, or a legend like Davey Richards. Um, I wrestle a guy like Steve Pena when we train together. He's wrestled in Germany. He's been all over the place. I love to keep wrestling him and keep learning and getting better. So it's not so much about individual dream matches, star indie matches. I just want to wrestle guys who are good and who I can learn from.
I just want to make sure. It might have been on my end. Do I still have you?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
have you. Did you get that? Do you want me to repeat it?
I heard Steve Pena, and then maybe
Oh,
a little
so
bit of.
I'm just saying I want to wrestle guys that are better than me and that I can learn from. I know it's not as fun as booking dream matches. It's not really my forte, but if it look, I'll put it this way. I have dream matches, they're all signed. So that's where I'm trying to be.
Well, that's the next question now. Now broaden your horizons.
Okay.
Who's that? Give me a couple of names.
Okay.
Signed whoever. Who's the dream of the dream?
Right off the bat is Adam Cole, and here's why. I was fortunate enough during my time at the PC to spend a lot of time with Adam Cole and learn a bunch from him, especially when he would come down to the Evolve shows and continue to spread that knowledge and that wealth of experience that he has. So Adam Cole's one. I think of a Ricochet who, to a lesser degree, was a similar situation. I want to wrestle Cody Rhodes because I went to a seminar with him in 2017, and I just want him to see how far I've come. Guys all across the world, guys all across the country that are signed and are at that level. I look at a guy like Leo Rush, who's just a couple years older than me, or like Dante Martin, who's incredible and like a year younger than me. Like I want to wrestle these guys that are my peers, but they've gotten there, and that's where I'm trying to be.
Now one of my favorite questions of the show, especially with you now, because we talked a
Oh,
little bit
and
off air.
Wardlow, because I wouldn't mind taking 9
Ooh,
power bombs.
I would say yeah, it's gonna be at least 9, I believe. Uh,
Oh, and I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this as well. I wanna wrestle MJF so bad because I'm gonna tell you why. Because when he was starting to blow up on the indies, doing, like, Chaotic and Limitless and Wrestle Circus down in Texas, he was just starting to really blow up. He chopped me in a promo so hard when I was just a trainee in Long Island, and Imma give it back to him.
do we have any idea what the promo was for?
Oh, man, you know what? It was so long ago that he was still Feinstein, he wasn't even Friedman yet.
Ooh,
So so I oh, man, I wish I could remember, but I can't. I just know he chopped the
oh,
hell out of me, and I gotta tag him back.
all right, receipt coming, receipt coming. All right, so
Max is the biggest douche on TV, but he's good people.
hey, don't ruin the gimmick, man.
Like,
Uh,
he's a douche.
I gotta ask you this, of course. Have you seen any good movies lately?
Of course, I've seen good movies lately. Well, I just rewatched The Batman last night, um, which I really enjoyed. But let me dig into a few different ones that I really enjoy. Um, I just watched Killing of the Sacred Deer.
Okay.
Um, what else have I seen recently? I watched It Follows, which I've been meaning to watch, and like it's weird. It's not that good, but I kind of like it. Um, I in terms of like some of my favorite movies that I'll rewatch on the regular, Us, Hereditary, La La Land, The Departed. Like if I'm just naming like a few of my favorites, like those are them.
All good ones there. No arguments here. Hereditary or Midsommar?
Hereditary, but Midsummer is freaky, man. Like I remember watching Hereditary and having like fear and the jump scares and the spoiler alert, the head on the ground is just a disgusting, horrific sight, mortifying. But watching Midsummer was about 2.5, 3 hours of just feeling unsettled and uncomfortable the whole time. And it's a different experience. It's a unique experience. And I try to get as many people to watch it as I can. But some people don't want to feel uncomfortable for 3 hours. And some
Mm.
people deal with it. Some people struggle with anxiety. I don't. So I'm okay being uncomfortable during a movie because I could let go of it. But somebody that I know that I had watched this movie was legit mad at me after because they didn't like the experience of watching it. And I get that. I get it.
Any movie recommendations? Maybe something I haven't seen.
Oh, that's gonna be tough because I know you know your stuff. I know you know your stuff. Something you haven't seen, or maybe something that you haven't seen. Uh, have you seen? Did you see West Side Story recently?
I did, yes.
Did you like it?
I did, yes. I've also never seen the original though.
That was my next question. Go see the original, do your compare and contrast, and see how
I
you feel.
just sold the I for some reason owned the 40th anniversary. I just sold it on
All
eBay.
right. Well, I'm sure you can find it somewhere, but I definitely would recommend seeing the original because you can. It's a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful movie. I just rewatched In the Heights as well because I saw Hamilton on Broadway in theater last week, and so this representation of say Puerto Ricans in New York City, which is it's me, right? I didn't really grow up with positive, like reinforcing representation like that. The only thing we had was West Side Story, and the Jets were kind of the bad guys in the original. Like it wasn't so
Mm,
even as the newer one. You see the pros and
okay.
cons. You see
You're
the
right. I was
balance
saying
and
they're not the bad guy.
good
Okay.
points. In the original, not so nice of a portrayal. So that was the best we had. So now, uh, those are a couple movies that hit a little home for me. I would definitely say if you like the West Side Story that came out this year, I think you'll even more enjoy the original.
I was gonna actually say too, I've never seen was it Killing of a Sacred Deer? Do you recommend that?
Yes, watch it. Watch it soon. It's really good.
Watch it soon.
Watch it soon. It's really good. I'm trying to see I think it's called Mandy, the Nick Cage movie.
Oh yeah, check
I'm
that one
trying
out.
to
That's
see
a
that
trip.
because I know the unbearable. I think it's called The Unbearable Weight of Being Insanely Famous or something like that. It's the new Nick Cage movie where
First
he
part's
plays
right. Yeah,
himself,
yeah. Well, Nick
and
Cage is Nick Cage.
apparently it's insane, and I wanna watch
Yeah.
Mandy before I see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick Cage,
I have
man.
I don't know if you have Letterboxd, but it's been doing it's a great
Of course. Are you on
so
Letterboxd? I gotta follow you now.
yeah, please. So
All right.
Letterboxd is what helps me knock through all these movies that I watch, and, like, I have I call it a short list, but it's like 30 movies of stuff I gotta catch up on or I gotta watch. So
What's what's oh yeah, do you want me to tell me the Letterboxd name later? Or can you say it now?
it's if you just search my name, I think it'll show up. I'll literally pull it up for you right now because I want to tell you a
Oh, I
couple
found
things
you.
that are on the watch list. Uh,
All right,
okay.
follow.
So my name on Letterboxd, if anybody else is watching, is Jarett Diaz 15. It's a big picture of my big old face. Uh, the watch list, right? Some things that are on the watch list. Lars and the Real Girl, which is a Ryan Gosling movie from 2007.
Interesting one.
Uh, Lamb Mystery Team, A Futile and Stupid Gesture, which is about basically the
Okay.
backstage antics of the SNL. I think in the Chevy Chase era. There's a lot. Blade Runner 2047, 2049. I don't know. I
Oh,
still haven't seen it.
watch 2049.
I gotta
Yeah,
watch
check
it
it
because I
out.
see the original. I gotta watch the new one. There's like 30 things on there, and there's always new movies, so I'll never really catch up, but I'm trying.
Oh, dude, check out Booksmart.
Booksmart, I know that's on my watch list too.
Yeah.
Uh, but I've been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm lately, and that's kind of been
Oh,
swerving
yeah.
me a little away from the movies. So,
That's a fine decision, man. I think I've gone through it a couple times now.
well, as soon as I
It's
finish Curb, I gotta
pretty,
knock out some
pretty,
movies 'cause it's pretty
pretty good.
good.
Oh, dude, check out The
Talk to me.
Spectacular Now. Love it.
The
Spectacular
Spectacular
Now.
Now has been on my watch list
Yes.
just in my brain for about 4 years. It's,
Yes.
I think it's Miles Teller and somebody? Or is it Ansel Elgort?
Yes. Teller
Yeah.
and no, it's definitely Teller and maybe Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, Shailene Woodley.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure.
it's been on my list for years. I've had a friend of mine who's a screenwriter, he's been telling me to watch it. He loves it, he loves it. And I just haven't 'cause he told me, "If you like being a wallflower, but don't wanna get depressed as much, watch this." Uh, so that's what he
Maybe
said.
I'd say it's a decent comparison. This has its own thing, about dad issues and stuff like that. But like, yeah,
Okay.
I really loved it, and also too, man. Hey, Punch Drunk Love, Adam Sandler. Yeah, get to it.
I have seen it, and I forgot to take it off the watch list,
Oh,
but
okay, all right, all
I did
right,
watch
all
that
right.
about 2 weeks ago.
And then one more, and I'll stop badgering you.
No, please,
Usual Suspects. Get
badger
to
me.
it.
I've started it, like, 6
Come
times,
on.
and I don't know. That's it. I did the same thing with Seven. I started it, like, 7 times, legit started it, like, 7 times, and then finally finished it and loved it, but, yeah, there's just a lot of yo, you know what? Don't come after me, alright? Because if you see all the movies that I have rated, you'll see that I've seen about
Yes.
1,000,000 movies.
No, I'm with you. There's a couple of these I'm bad at. I've never seen Million Dollar Baby either. People get mad at me for that. One day, don't know why. It's not on purpose. Just
Well, okay, so you haven't
whatever.
seen Million
And
Dollar Baby, but
I'm not.
have you seen the one where Clint Eastwood has to drive, the mule? He has to,
Sadly,
like, drive
yeah. My buddy
as a
was in
dri
it, so I had to check
yeah,
it out.
not as good, just as long.
Yeah, yeah, like definitely most people would say, "Why did you just watch the other one?" But yeah,
Yeah,
I had.
yeah, I've made my mistakes.
uh,
Also, there's a movie on there with Goldberg where he plays a Santa that murders people.
I saw it.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm
Oh
gonna.
yeah, I've seen it. It's watchable if you're. I think only if you're a wrestling fan to see Goldberg as a murderous Santa.
Just for the
Uh,
novelty of seeing Goldberg as a Santa Claus, that's fine.
all right, let me see if there's any ratings. I'm gonna get mad at.
Please, judge
I
me.
mean, I like being John Malkovich a little bit more, but not that much more. Oh, these
You know
ratings.
what?
Whoa, whoa.
I
Okay, nope,
liked
nope.
it.
We got a
I
problem.
liked it, but it was very strange, and I didn't love it.
We have a problem. I don't know if you've even noticed what I've
Hmm.
been drinking from. 2 stars on the original Halloween.
Yes, 2 stars in the original Halloween.
What?
You know why?
As I
Can I
take a
tell you
sip.
why? Can I tell you
Oh
why?
yeah, please.
Because I think slasher movies are universally bad, and there are some better than others, but I don't think they're good movies. I don't. That's maybe a bad take for me. But I don't think Friday the 13th is very good. I don't think
I don't
Halloween is
either.
very good.
There's nothing
I don't
going for that other
I
than just
won't
bad
watch I
characters and
won't
killing.
watch Saw.
Halloween's better.
It's
So, yeah, I
basically
wouldn't recommend Saw.
it's like the slasher, gore, and torture porn. Uh, like genres of horror are not for me. I like the psychological stuff and I like the paranormal stuff. The paranormal stuff isn't always good, but it's more interesting to me than like I'm gonna chop your head off because I'm crazy. You know, that's just not doesn't do it for me.
Because I'm crazy.
It just doesn't really do it for me. I would say if I had to pick like one slasher series or whatever, it'd be Scream. That's
Yeah, I'll
Scream
defend Scream. I like
hits a little
Scream a
closer
lot.
to
That's
me.
mine. That's probably my
Yeah.
number one.
But I also have the bad opinion of liking Scream 3, where it gets like super meta and they're on a movie set for Scream.
I like it. It's
Well, that's the wrong opinion. And I'm
I'll
with you.
choose it over 4.
It's
I
again,
don't think there's a bad Scream movie out
well,
there as far as like a non-recommendation. I'd recommend them all. 4 would be probably at the end actually for me.
I wouldn't recommend 4 to anybody, but I also recommend 3. I recommend 3 saying it's bad, but it's not that bad.
It's a very watchable, like,
Yeah,
it's kind of preposterous, but it's
completely.
fun, man. Like, I don't think you can walk out being like, "Well, I was bored and didn't like it." I think you at least walk out being like, "That was kind of dumb," but I chuckled and
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
and I also do have the luxury of watching all of these at home. If I were at a theater and watching Scream Theater 3 when it came out, I don't know if I would have had a fun time.
Yeah, I think 4 was my first theater one. Whoa, okay, hold on. Forrest Gump, 2 stars?
Awful, awful, horrendous piece of garbage film. That's my that is my most controversial take in life. Forrest
That's a
Gump's a
hot
bad movie.
take. That is
It's a bad
a
movie.
it's a hot take.
It's a bad movie. Can I tell you why I feel that it's a bad,
Please.
horrendous movie? All right. Who are we rooting for, Jordan?
Forrest.
Why?
He's a good guy.
No, he's just a guy. He's a guy stumbling throughout his life. And stuff just happens around him, and then either he gets credit for it, he gets blamed for it, he gets praised for it, or somebody gets mad at him about it, right? But he doesn't actively do anything unless somebody actually tells him to. He has no thoughts or motives of his own, and that makes for a bad protagonist. So, if you're a protagonist, right? If you're the protagonist of your film, your payoff is either you get the girl, you get the riches, you get that goal that you want. He has no goal. He doesn't want anything through like the whole movie. The only thing he wants really is to be with Jenny, who's an awful person that none of us should be
Jenny is
happy
pretty
about.
bad.
None
Jenny
of
is
us should
pretty
be
bad.
happy that he gets with her at the end. She's an awful garbage human being. Not to mention Robert Zemeckis' seemingly his favorite thing to put in a movie. Guy saves girl from getting raped in a car. Girl gets mad at guy. So, Back to the Future. So, it's not an enjoyable film for me. It's just not. Not to mention all the racial
You think
undertones, the tar and feathering, I'm not with it. I'm not with it.
so? Ed Helms' Vacation is better.
Yeah. I had fun with
That
that one.
got 3. I see that got 3.
No, look, whatever, man. Forrest Gump's bad. I don't care. I don't care. It's bad.
I do find it definitely is not as holds up as much of a rewatch and later on in life, but
Let me ask you this.
the
Is
two
anything
stuff.
that I just said let me ask you this. Is anything that I just said about Forrest Gump invalid?
No, I understand. Like, yeah, it really is when you think back upon it, like, oh yeah, Jenny's trash. Like,
No, nobody in that
and it
movie
is
is
something
cool
if you think
except
about it,
for
I think.
Bubba's mom, who gets no lines, or Forrest's mom, who gets like 6 lines in the whole movie. That's it. Those are the only people that are like actually, yeah, we like her. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
I'll warn you now. I see you like Split. Glass is gonna let you down.
I like Split. I heard Glass is gonna let me down. I'll still watch it at some point.
No,
This
I
is the
mean
thing.
check it out. I feel like you kind of got it.
Sometimes I'll know that a movie's not gonna be very good. Morbius, and I'm still gonna watch it.
Yeah. It
That's
wasn't, but yeah, give it a shot. It's also not. I don't think it's. I think it's been. I don't want to say underrated, but with some of the reviews, it's been underrated. Not that it's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, I have the problem of like if a movie comes out and then a sequel comes out, probably gonna watch it. I didn't like Venom all
Yeah.
that much, but I liked it enough to warrant watching the second.
And also too, shout out. I just don't know how many pro wrestlers are fans like us of the Before Sunset movies. Aren't those great?
Oh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful.
Love those movies.
This is what my favorite part of it is, that it's all dialogue, right? It's all just walk
Hmm.
and talks. But if you do a walk and talk that's 2 hours or an hour and a half, or they're fairly crisp, right? Hour and a half, maybe a little more, and they're so
I think
compelling
the
that
first. I feel like the third one was the longest. I could be wrong.
yeah. But this is the thing, it's all dialogue, and it's written so beautifully, it's so compelling, it's almost like poetry for
Mm,
2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, that
yeah,
I think they're beautiful, and I recommend them
yeah.
to any sweet souls.
I know, big recommendation, man. I believe it's easily the first time on Kayfabe Corner Before Sunrise Sunset has ever been talked about. So
Well,
just wanted
good.
to
I
bring that
think you should
up
be talking about it more, and going forward, you tell all wrestlers, "Hey,
every
wanna
episode.
you wanna feel a little soft spot in your chest? Watch the Before
It's
trilogy."
good. What's it about? Guy and a girl talking, and
Yep,
that's
gotta go
it.
talking, or, maybe 4 times over about 10 years.
Yeah. I'm looking. I want a fourth one, man. Give it whatever it is. 10 years later, we're probably getting there too. Actually, at this point,
You
give
think
me a
so?
fourth.
Well, when
When's
did
the
the
last
3rd
one
one
come
come out?
out?
No, I'm asking you. What, maybe
I feel like we're
2012 or
there.
13?
Look, I'll tell you in 2 seconds. Google lets me.
Oh, Google's my best friend. I know I have friends, or even my dad will be like, "How do you know that? Like, why do you know stuff like that?" Google. I just Google it. I just learn stuff.
2013. So it literally would
Okay.
be next year.
You know what? We'll do a little digging, and we'll see if it's getting made. 'Cause I would like it to be
I
made.
feel like last I heard, I only heard Hawk say they weren't, or at least like weren't on it like a year ago. But that was also a year ago.
Is
So and
this,
those films probably don't take too
this
long.
is Richard Linklater, correct? That directs
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Like later directs all three.
when I saw Goodwill Hunting for the first time, I was in high school. Sorry, I was in college. I was like a freshman in college, and shortly after, I started taking these screenwriting courses when I was, looking to get my degree, and the only thing in my head was like, "Man, if I just finish this screenwriting play, if I just finish this screenplay, I'm gonna be Matt Damon. If I just finish it, I'm gonna be Matt Damon." 'Cause that's all I was thinking about, like, the whole time.
Well, you need a Ben Affleck. That's your problem.
That's my problem. I was alone. I didn't have any friends writing with me. That was my fault.
You need your own Ben. Uh, all right, let's see. What were we talking about? Oh, wrestling. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I hate that question. Because I don't know. I genuinely, uh, I have goals, right? I have the goal of wrestle for CZW, wrestle for PWG, wrestle for MLW, wrestle for Impact, AEW, WWE. Like, I have all the places that I want to go, but I don't ever put a time stamp on myself. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, if I don't get to MLW in 3 years, I'm a loser. I'm a failure. Like, I'm gonna wrestle until my body won't let me, or until I'm a professional at some other thing in wrestling, as in I'm a broadcaster with one of these companies, or I'm an editor with one of these companies to a high enough point where they won't let me wrestle anymore. Like, I'm just gonna keep going, and the only goal that matters most is to get better. So, where do I see myself in 5 years? A lot better than I am right now, and that's dangerous for a lot of y'all out there.
Oh, I almost really want to end right there, but we're not done yet. Like that's be a
Oh, it's
perfect
okay, that's
ender.
okay, that's
Uh,
okay.
all right, we gotta
Sorry,
do a little bit of role.
I turned the promo on for just a
You
moment.
did. You did. Like I should have just cut it right there, just with the wink and right there. Do a little bit of role play here. We're after this. The show's done. You know, when you're about to leave the arena, and
Mhm.
a kid walks up to you. You know, maybe 13, 14, 15. Goes, "Oh, Mr. Diaz, I really enjoyed your match. I want to be a wrestler." What kind of advice would you give
Oh, with the
somebody
voice
that's
crack.
thinking about entering the world of pro wrestling?
Okay, so I actually have this a lot because I my dad and I, we run this gym, and we have athletes anywhere from, you know, professional level to little league baseball players at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And I had this 8-year-old, 8 years old, just tell me yesterday that he wants to be a wrestler when he grows up. And I just showed him a little clip of mine. He was super excited. He was excited to see the dive and the theatrics, the pad, all that stuff. Uh, and so he asked me, he goes, "I want to be a wrestler one day. Like, what do I do?" First thing I said was, is never stop loving it, which is hard. it's hard because if you watch enough bad wrestling, you can get really jaded. Or if you want to be somewhere that you're not, you can get really jaded. But if you always remind yourself why you loved it in the first place, I believe you'll never lose that. The second thing I would say is stay an athlete. Or if you're not an athlete, do your best to be one. It's hard. Wrestling is hard physically. But if you have a little bit of a base and athletic background, like you said, a 13-year-old's asking me, there's still time to get into track or, weightlifting or something athletic that can give them a base and a background so that when they get in the ring for the first time, it's not as foreign as it would be for somebody who's never done it. Those would be my most two important, which is like love this as much as you can and get a head start. I lost you.
I so I
Hi.
got muted somehow. I don't remember muting myself. Things happen. Any plugs out there? Where's the gym at?
Oh, my gym is in Mount Vernon. My dad and I have this gym on the border of Mount Vernon and Pelham. So anybody who knows like New York, the Bronx, Westchester County, that's gonna be really easy for you. Border Westchester and the Bronx. We don't have a name, which is very cool because we only spread by word of mouth. We don't do promotion. We don't do commercials or ads or anything like that. And yet we're still running 8, 9 years later on our own, which is really cool. I'm very proud of that. I know my dad is as well. But if you want to find us, you can contact me or you can contact our head trainer, Mike Diaz, at Nike Mad 01. That's NIKEMAD 01 on Instagram. So you can find that's really where all the training stuff lives at. He showcases his athletes and some of the workouts that they do, some of the workouts that he does, some of the workouts that I do. That's where our business exists outside of the gym.
Any plugs you for fans? Any merch plugs or show plugs where we can catch you soon?
Fullygimmick.com. You can find Jarett Diaz merchandise. You can find the Rapture merchandise, Bodega Boy. The Rapture stuff is on its way out, by the way. So get it while it's hot.
Get it while you can.
You can find the Bodega Boy shirt. I'm coming out with new shirts. I'm working on it soon. When it comes to my social media, yes, on Instagram at the Jarett Diaz Show, on Twitter at the Jarett Diaz, and there's the merch. There's the merch comes in black and white, and I think gray, but I could be wrong about that last one.
Dark heather and white.
There you go. And if you want to be like me, you can cut it right in the middle. You can find me on Twitter at the Jarett Diaz. If you go to YouTube and you can see a lot of my stuff. If you just search my name, my profile will come up as well, the Jarett Diaz Show. If you want to hire me for something, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just search my name. I'm very versatile. Yeah, that's my social. That's what I do.
Showing off the Twitter there real quick. There you go. Twitter at the Jarett Diaz.
Look at me mean mugging in the poster. What is that? What is that called? That photo?
I don't know. The header? I don't know.
Yeah, the header photo. Yeah. I look kind of tough in there.
You do almost look different, almost like a different dude, actually, to a degree.
There's
like
no
Aaron
facial
Solo.
hair.
There's
no facial hair in that picture, and you can't see my hair because I'm wearing the hat, so it looks a little different.
Where can someone reach you if they want to book you?
You can hit the DMs, of course, on any of my socials. I always keep those open. On Facebook, you can search me up and find me. Again, on Instagram at the Jarett Diaz Show. You can also email me. My email is connected to my Instagram, but if you can't find my Instagram, Jarett Diaz, as it's spelled, 15 at gmail.com. You can book me there. Jordan, you can book me for Real Pro, or somebody can book me for Real Pro somewhere at some point because I love Real Pro.
It should be sooner than later for sure.
And I stay pretty busy, so I just opened up my dates for the summer. I wasn't taking them until
do you have anything upcoming that you want to plug or?
Yeah, upcoming. I've been doing a lot of stuff with CZW, which definitely took a big hit during the pandemic, but has worked really hard to rebuild its reputation in wrestling. And we've been running shows monthly in Maryland in Havre de Grace at a theater, which has been selling really well. As well as this Sunday, I'm wrestling in Blackwood, New Jersey for that promotion. What else do I have lined up? May 14th, I'm wrestling in Springfield, Massachusetts at New Age Wrestling. I'm wrestling Sebastian Cage. I don't know if you've had Sebastian, but Sebastian's been down in there's CCW. Yeah, Sebastian Cage has wrestled for WWN a couple times, and I've been looking to wrestle him for maybe 2 years now. So I'm looking forward to that. And you never know where else I may pop up. I may pop up in Jersey. I may pop up in Florida, Mississippi. I'll be in Las Vegas during AEW Double or Nothing weekend, doing something with FSW, potentially doing something with Black Label. That's something I'm still trying to nail down and figure out. But I will be there in Vegas. If you're there in Vegas, or if you're looking at stuff that's going in Vegas, you'll see my face.
Fantastic. Any parting words, words of wisdom?
Oh, words of wisdom. Be kind to people. I think that the best thing about WWN was that Zach Romero always reminded people at the end of the night to be nice to each other in the parking lot. That is my favorite thing about that guy. And that's my favorite thing about that show. So I try to bring this now to other things that I do is be kind to people, love on people, and keep watching wrestling. Keep us alive. And that's it. That's all I got. Be kind to people and love wrestling.
Love wrestling, be kind. 2 true words never spoken. Ladies and gentlemen, Jarett Diaz for JPL. Thanks for watching. You know what to do. Like, subscribe. You heard it. You know the thing. Thank you so much, Jarett. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it, man. Follow this young man going places. Thanks for watching. Good night.